Welcome to another Bow Tie Tuesday. It is my privilege to be joined by James Rosner today. If you don't know James, James has been on the side of campus infrastructure for a long time, about 23 plus years, from the Air Force to Oklahoma State to the University of Denver. He's now at JCI and is on the board of National APA. James, welcome to Bow Tie Tuesday.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I'm excited to talk to you, man. I think one thing that is really important and going on right now, especially given your expertise, is energy, right? The cost of energy. We've got data centers, but we also have all these 2030 plans, and it's getting pretty close to 2030, right? And 2040 is not too far away. Where you sit and what you're seeing, what how do you describe what's going on with institutions as these dates are getting closer?
Absolutely. There's so much happening in the world of energy, sustainability, greenhouse gas emissions, and folks that made commitments and are now trying to achieve those goals, or even more, their predecessors have made commitments. That
Right.
new staff, with a tremendous amount of turnover we're seeing, both at the president, the CFO level, head of facility sustainability, there's quite a bit of turnover right now, and many people are even inheriting goals
Mm.
and stepping into places that they maybe didn't even start. So there's really a lot of activity happening here, a lot of pressure when folks are trying to balance and manage a university's energy and sustainability goals. And you're right, 2030, we used to think is a long way away. My goodness, now that we're in a new fiscal year for many universities. We only have 2 or 3 fiscal years until 2030's here. So
Yeah.
that's really not a lot of time at all.
Yeah. So what my general sense, universities have obviously made some strides towards getting to things like net zero or whatever their goals were. Where do you are the majority on target to hit 2030 or 2040, or have goals expectations changed under a different administration, different priorities, cultures also shift on what's important? Like how many people still care about sustainability versus is it really how do we reduce energy costs because we have to stay fiscally responsible? Like where do you see institutions are with the goals that either they created or inherited as we're getting closer?
Right now, I'm seeing a real emergence of how is reality meeting the aspirations of universities that have made commitments and goals in the past? And how much do the real key customers, which are those students, how much do students really care about this now as well? And I remember I've seen the 2025 ASHE survey that looked at students, and still 48% of incoming students still are making decisions and prefer a campus that is on track with sustainability, that's not. So that's a large constituent base, including my daughter's going to be graduating and going into higher ed, and she is caring about sustainability tracks, the environment, and environmental sciences. So there is quite a bit of interest from those key students asking, how are we doing? How are we on track? Now, what we've also looked at is many universities have been handling a lot of items internally, or have been able to address a lot of low hanging fruit, which was very achievable to meet those 2030 goals. So, revolving green funds, internal lighting programs, doing building upgrades at a time to come on track for interim goals like 2040, or like 40% or 50% by 2030, 2040. And so, however, if you have 100, 120 buildings on your campus doing a building at a time, it's going to take a long time to do all your lighting retrofits or your building
Yeah.
automation
The
upgrades.
math doesn't work,
So
right? If you do two a year, like that's going to take 50 years if you got 100 buildings.
absolutely, and we're seeing a lot of progress towards goals. Many universities are meeting those interim goals, but
Mm.
now the hard work's getting started with the low hanging fruits picked. The internal programs are there. Now, boy, you're having large heating decarbonization, conversions from steam to hot water, or use of geothermal, where energy savings, like you were able to have very easy energy savings projects and contracts where those savings could pay and cover those costs for those lighting projects. But when the costs can't be covered by savings, and
Mm.
universities are going to the state or to their board and saying, you've asked me to do a decarb plan, a roadmap, a utility master plan, Now the cost of meeting this aspiration is in the two, three, $400 million range.
Yeah,
It gets a
some
little
real
more
money.
challenging there. So I'm seeing a lot of that where there was a commitment made. Hey, go and do a study, do a plan. Higher ed is amazing at doing plans and studies. Let's do another study. And as those questions were being asked, what's technically feasible? What's it cost? How long is it going to take? I think some of that reality is meeting those aspirations.
Did you say a lot of the low hanging fruit universities have taken advantage of and done, which is obviously a good thing, and all of a sudden it's getting to the point where the amount of low hanging fruit available is getting fewer, and some of the big things that are left are really capital intensive.
Absolutely, including central utility plants, distribution systems that have been in place for 40, 50, 60 plus years now are reaching a useful life. And you're having to have that mix between building systems and utility systems. That energy transition is matching to say, do I want to invest and throw good money at a bad system? Not a bad system, but an older system, older technology. As the grid is greening, there's been a lot of shift towards electrification and decarbonization. And so being able to overcome some of that, but replacing system types is capital intensive. And that's where that low hanging fruit, and as we heard, you may be halfway through your low hanging fruit now with that internal program, but there's still a large deferred maintenance backlog that has been well documented. And being able to start addressing those critical system enhancements, upgrades for new technology is really a challenge facing universities.
Yeah, I feel so much of the any of the wins like they have to pay for themselves, right? And just stack the wins, go get wins. And yeah, it sounds like maybe universities for some of these bigger projects either have to reset some of their aspirations or find religion on, hey, if we want to do this, this is going to be a different level of funding that's going to be necessary, especially if you got 2030 goals. That's not, as you said, that's not too far away. Tell me, switching the conversation a little bit. So you sit on the board of APA, right? Really responsible for business partners, right? Business partners connecting at APA, as well as how do institutions connect to business partners. One of the things that I'd love to pick your brain about is how do we help do that better, right? So in other words, for each party, where both, I think in general, like they want to work better together, what are things that institutions, and being that you were at an institution for almost your entire career, or a couple different institutions your entire career, like what are the things you would kind of challenge or push or encourage institutions to do to take advantage of business partners in a good way, right? And same thing for business partners. What can they do to help institutions more?
Absolutely. And having been on the institution side, attending multiple regional APA conferences, state, and even national conferences, I always came with a problem that I had, and I was always able to find a solution through a business partner or learning from a presentation or a speaking point on it to help leave with solutions in mind is one thing that is a tremendous benefit. And so business partners are so valuable about providing information about what's happening elsewhere in the country, problems other campuses have solved, and sharing that information with and attendees. And so one thing that comes to mind is universities, it's okay if you don't have all the answers. And you may not have that problem now, but attending and listening and talking to business partners, planting seeds, hearing about it. I remember having a problem at my desk at Oklahoma State University where I was having a problem with steam tunnels and leaking and water infiltration. And this was 6 months after a conference. And I'm kid you not, on my table was one of the flyers from the tables of a solution that was there. And I looked down and smiled, and I had a solution here 6 months after
Yeah.
I had those conversations that stayed with me. So letting business partners know those conversations may not have a call that next week. You might be able to plant those seeds, share those stories, and you're going to get a call 6 months later because you shared those innovations, those technologies, and folks are there to learn and be open to talk about. Institutions, don't be afraid of talking about your challenges, your needs, and business partners, even if it's not your solution, because of our network of business partners, we're like, we're here to solve a problem. Let me connect you folks that might be able to solve that problem as part of that community. So I think that's a big part of my role on the board because this is the first time APA has done that. Had a business partner sit on the board is to really be that voice of business partners, understand the needs, and how best can business partners engage at the state, regional, and national chapter. Because we're just here to help solve problems and be that resource for those universities and K-12 community college customers.
Yeah, I think that's great. In our company, and I don't know, maybe people are sick of me saying this, but I believe these two things are true, right? Which is the customer is always right, and the Steve Jobs, the customer doesn't know what they want, right? I think they're both true, right? It's like the customer, they aren't always right about what is the best solution because maybe they don't know, but they are definitely right about their problems, right? They know where the pain and the problems are, the things that they need to go and solve. And so, yeah, institutions where we can help figure out like what is the pain that they're going through. And at the same time, the job of the business partner really is like, how do I create a solution? Not just push my solution on somebody, but how do I create it that's aligned to the problems that I'm actually hearing my institution say, right? And
I love that because I will give credit where credit's due. One of my first bosses in higher ed, he's still at higher ed at University of Dayton and others at Oklahoma State, was Rick Krishak, and he had the Rick's Rules of the Road, one of which was the customer has responsibilities too. And to your point, to have a business partner be success, you can't just call them up and put an RFP on the street and they respond in 1 week and expect business partners to jump through hoops to respond to an unreasonable timeline. Again, the customer has those responsibilities as well to help the business partner be successful. And in turn, that provides the best product and service to the university as well. So I love that customer has responsibilities too.
awesome. Thank you so much, James. It's been a great Bow Tie Tuesday, man. Welcome back anytime, and certainly a pleasure having you on.
Appreciate it and really excited to always help universities meet their mission. Again, with one of my oldest about to go into higher ed, really excited to see that journey and help provide those solutions for those students and their future.
Awesome. Thank you.